tough loss in Atlanta, and as you speak about typically in the weeks before a game, you talk a lot about situational football, and that is always important. You win a lot of the facets of the game, but the muffed punt, the pick six, so Atlanta with 14 points without their offense on the field is, on the road, very tough to overcome.
Yeah, that very rarely happens that you win those types of games, and so we've got to do a better job, in particular when we're on the road, of protecting the football. Those are critical mistakes that against good teams get you beat, and it came back to haunt us.
Now, Coach Allen, if I'd have told you before the season, I looked at my crystal ball, and the Saints, who've now scored 127 points through 4 games against 70 points scored by your opponent, and that scoring differential plus 57 in 4 weeks, you probably think, damn, we got probably a good chance to be 4-0. But you got to be able to finish. I look at the Chiefs, it might be ugly, but they're 4-0, and it's all about how the game transpires, but how you finish. And it's going to be the case come Monday night in Kansas City. And then when Tampa Bay comes to town still, how we finish the game.
No, look, Bobby, you're exactly right. That's what we've got to learn how to do. We've got to learn how to finish better. And right now we're not doing that. And that's what the good teams are really able to do. The good teams are able to finish when they have an opportunity to. And so that's been disappointing. And hopefully our guys are continuing to learn from that, and we'll get better at that as the season rolls on. But that's the way that the National Football League is. A majority of these games come down to, one-score games. And so, it's been disappointing that the last 2 weeks we've had an opportunity to close it out on defense, and we haven't been able to get the job done.
Now, Coach, I was really optimistic that when you look first and goal from the 5-yard line, now we ended up, 4th and goal, we ended up in the 7-yard line, so we're going backwards instead of going forwards. I know Taysom Hill not being available in the second half. But, whether you go for it or don't go for it and you take the points, that's all hindsight. 4 minutes left. And if the Falcons have their 4-minute offense going, then you maybe never get the ball back. So we could speculate on that. But the question I have is that, I don't know, okay, Taysom Hill's not available. And you got Alvin Kamara dealing. Now he's running hard. He's dealing with rib injuries. But Jamal Williams, why in the hell he's on the team? I mean, there's no trust factor. I mean, I'm looking. He had 3 carries the last 2 games. And then he was a touchdown maker in those situations with the Lions. And we got first and goal on the 5-yard line. And I know we had the piecemeal, and the offensive line was different than normally who would be starting. But Jamal Williams, why is he on the team if we don't play him?
Well, look, yeah, Bobby, I think that's something that, with the new offensive staff and guys that are, trying to still figure some things out, I think we'll get better at that as we go along. But we certainly got to get some more people involved in the offense, try to get some more production from some other people. And I think we'll do that as we move forward.
Coach, you had the 25-yard explosive play yesterday with Atlanta. Certainly, it's difficult because things click so perfectly in weeks 1 and 2. I was wondering how much defenses Philly and Atlanta have said, you're going to have to take the quick pass route because you're not going to beat us deep. How much have teams made that their first priority, kind of preventing the deep play?
Oh yeah, I think those have been characteristics of the last 2 teams that we played, and that's kind of been their MO a little bit, and not letting teams, get behind them on defense and create those explosive plays. And yet I still feel like we had a couple of opportunities for explosive plays. And so we've got to continue to do that, but we've got to take what the defense is giving us, and like I said, we moved the ball pretty well throughout the course of the game. I mean, we had, 370 yards of offense, basically. We ran the ball well. I thought we threw the ball effectively. Derek, threw the ball 28 of 36. And so there's a lot of things that we did well, and yet all of those things, really don't mean anything when you give up 14 points through turnovers.
Now, Coach Allen, it's a copycat lead, and, I remember, you're putting a game plan. You're always trying to attack the perception as far as who might be the weakest link. and it could be you could be in a slump, and then you attack that particular player as far as down and distance and all that. But it seems like right now that maybe they're going, they have to complete a pass. They're going away from Lattimore. Now, I know the quarterback of our defense in the back end that might have came into play, Tyrann Mathieu, was not available. So you know how you set in coverage and what you're doing, and you're putting a lot of responsibility in individual players. But I'm looking at Paulson Adebo, and I agree with you 100%. That and you're the head coach, that when it's crunch time, that's where the Falcons wanted to go. They wanted to attack him over there because Adebo can be a little hands-on, physical cornerback, and we want him to be aggressive. But I'm looking at the 6 penalty called in 2024, 3 of which came against the Falcons. Now, he's come up with interceptions, a couple of interceptions, but they declined a couple of those penalties. So how do you coach that up with Adebo? Because you know in practice when you're in training camp, whether you on Airline Highway, you're in California, you have officials out there, and sometimes the defense will get all fired up. Oh, that was pass defended. But then in a game, actual game, they might call interference or defensive holding, whatever it might be. And look at the impact on that. Spot foul, and all of a sudden, their kicker. I mean, I think our kicker can make a 58-yarder. So I was like, I had no confidence that he wasn't going to make that. But anyway, how do you go forward with that and give? I think Adebo has confidence, but I think I could see the Chiefs or I could see Tampa Bay. They're going right at Adebo again if those same circumstance comes about.
Yeah, Bobby, I think that's absolutely correct. I mean, I think, I thought Philly started to do that a little bit in the previous week. I thought Atlanta was trying to do that this week. Paulson's a guy that's made a lot of plays for us. He's played good defense for us. He's got to improve on some things from a fundamental and technique standpoint. And look, when there becomes some flames and the offenses start looking to identify that, you've got to do some things to put out the fire. And so I have confidence that Paulson will be able to do that. He's played really good football for us. But certainly, I think the last 2 weeks, teams have tried to attack him a little bit.
And Coach, Bobby talked a little bit about the Alvin Kamara touchdown, the third down. I don't think this is proprietary. Just the strategy involved with the car on first and second down and wanting to score, but also wanting to burn clock. It's got to be a big challenge always.
Yeah, well, look, obviously the number one objective there is to score the touchdown. You have to score the touchdown to win the game, and I don't think you can get too cute in those situations. And yet we were inside of a yard, and the most effective short yardage play in football is the quarterback sneak. And so, look, we were trying to sneak it in. I thought they did a good job of stopping everything up inside. And so third down, we wanted to test the edge a little bit.
Coach Allen, when you looked at the film, I said, no excuses, next man up. You have to play with injuries. But, how we lost the game, I was like, it wasn't because, offensive line got their ass kicked. Derek Carr got sacked 5 times. We don't have our leader on defense, Demario Davis, and then Gaggs going down, then Tyrann Mathieu's hurt. I thought overall that's not why the reason that we did fine. And that who was plugging and playing on the offensive line and even on defense, look, they didn't score a touchdown. That was not the reason we didn't win. That's why it's so frustrating, I think, for Saints fans, is that what you thought might be a liability because who's playing and who's available, that was not the reason why we did not win that game. Because in the trenches in the middle. Now, when you watch the film, you might be able to elaborate a little bit more on that. But I thought we were hanging. I was like impressed with the interior of the offensive line. Shane Lemieux, you look at Lucas Patrick, you look at everybody involved, Landon Young, whatever it might be. Now, you never want no penalties. That's one thing. Atlanta ended up having 9 penalties. You never want 9 or more around 100 yards. But to me, what I thought could be maybe a problem going into the game, because who's playing, might say next man up, but it doesn't matter who's playing. that was not the reason why we didn't beat Atlanta. Because I thought whoever went in there, that they took pride in their craft and played at a high level. And even though, like DeMario Davis, the captain of defense, like I said over and over, that was not an issue. Because, teams are dealing with injuries, but I was very encouraged by that.
No, yeah. Look, I think we had some guys that stepped in and played really well. DeMarco Jackson, for a guy that's been out for over a month and really hadn't had a lot of practice reps really since training camp, to have to go in on the fifth or sixth play of the game and finish out the game in place of Willie Gay was pretty outstanding for him to do that. I thought our offensive line, the guys that filled in there, I thought they stepped up and did well. And look, I thought in a lot of areas we played well enough to win the game. And we can talk about all the good and all the bad and all the whatever you want to talk about. I think it still boils down to, and this game is about turnover takeaway margin. And when you turn the ball over, and in particular when those things end up being scores, it's really hard to win, in particular on the road in those situations.
Yeah, that's it's even to me. It shows you how good we are, and because when you basically giving them a gift of 14 points or 2 touchdowns, and we actually took the lead at the end of the game, that's very promising going forward. Now, the one thing that was not so much promising, because I had said this last year going into this year, okay, can we run the ball and can we stop the run? Now, we've been able to run the ball. Last year, remember, we given up like 4.5 yards a run, and we basically getting 3.5. Well, I'm just looking at the Eagles game, and then Algier in particular on the back end. I'm like, what they were actually, I don't know why. I'm like, if I'm, talking to the offensive coordinator with the Falcons, say, why we only ran the ball 15 times? And the reason why I bring that up, like, for instance, the Eagles ran 25 times, a 7-yard average, 6.9. And then Atlanta ran 15 times, 5.9 average. So you can look 7 average, 7.0 average with the Eagles and 6 with the Falcons. So that's something, to me, still back-to-back games we have not stopped the run. Now, how did y'all address that in the meetings?
Well, the same way we do every week. There's some areas that we've got to improve on. We've got to improve on some things from a fundamental and a technique standpoint. I don't think we tackled very well in this game, and I think that was part of the issue in the game. I think we got to do a better job of tackling. I felt like we did a good job of being able to stop the run in the first half. I thought we played the run pretty well in the first half. I don't think we played the run very well in the second half, and so I think we've got to be able to put 4 quarters together and being able to stop the run.
Coach, wanted you to expand, if you could. You talked earlier today about getting more production beyond Taysom Hill, Alvin Kamara, Olave, and Rashid. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, yeah. I just think we got to be able to get some more people involved. I think, Juwan Johnson's a guy that I think has some ability to help us in the passing game. I think we've got to be able to get him, a little bit more involved. I think we just have so many plays that these guys can play and be effective, and I get concerned that we're going to, overuse some of these guys, and then we're going to have to deal with some of the injuries that we see. Jamal Williams, Bobby's already mentioned that. That's another guy that I think we need to get, more involved. I think Mason Tipton's a guy that can help us in certain areas. So I think we've got to be able to count on those guys to have some production for us too.
Coach Allen, I got looking on the defensive side, a couple of players, to me, they're always showing up and they're putting up numbers. Along with J.T. Gray, it seems like we always find linebackers like Anthony Orji. He's always making special teams tackles. And if he's not leading, he's in the top 2 along with J.T. Gray, that being Anthony Orji. I want you to comment on that. And then also, finally, Peyton Turner showed up. Peyton Turner got a significant sack. He forced a fumble. I wish Dane Shepard could have landed on it. But our quarterback hurried and tackle for loss. But overall, I still don't think we finish. And now you can talk about quarterback hurries, quarterback hits, like Chase Young, so close but so far. Look at Carl Granderson. I think he's our best edge guy right now. But it seems like at times we didn't influence Kirk Cousins enough as far as with the pass rush.
Well, I think, Bobby, we certainly didn't get him on the ground as much as we needed to be able to get him on the ground, and we need to be able to rush the passer better, and we will be able to rush the passer better, and we have rushed the passer better. It's been a significant improvement from where we were a year ago, and yet it's not, where we want it to be. So we're going to continue to work hard to get better at that. I do think Carl's done a nice job of rushing the passer. I thought Peyton Turner had an outstanding rush and a long arm to get the ball out from the quarterback. I showed, about 8 plays, specifically with the defense and the difference, in winning and losing the game. And there's, about 8 plays in the game where if we're able to make the play, we're taking points off the board. And so that's the critical factor in playing these close games is you never know which play is going to be the difference in the game. And so we've got to do a better job of, finishing on all these plays. And then you mentioned Anthony Orji. I think he's done a really good job on the coverage units, in particular on the kickoff coverage. He's a guy that's improved a lot from where he was a year ago, and that's good to see. And hopefully he'll continue to improve as a defensive player.
Now, Coach Allen, the one thing we've been pretty disciplined. Now, it's all timing also when you look at penalties. I think overall that's something that you have to be pleased with. Now, it seems like I want to say that we had 6 penalties, but like 5 of them were in the second half. I don't know, it could come in bunches, which is a bad thing. But I remember at one time I'm looking at the first half, I'm like, man, we don't even have a penalty. Which is very good. You'll get a handful of penalties. You never want 2 handfuls. So I think you have to be overall pleased. Again, you never want a penalty that stops the drive or whatever, or extend a play like what happened with Adebo at the end, so they get in field goal range. But I think overall that, you experiment, and when you look in the preseason and you might have a game where you have double-digit penalties or 100 yards. But overall, I think we've been pretty good discipline as far as the penalties.
Yeah, look, I think it's been an area of improvement for our football team. And there's still some things that I think we can be better at and eliminate some of the penalties. We had a few too many pre-snap penalties offensively in the game. We've got to clean that stuff up. The ones that we have total control over, we've got to be better at. And then the penalties that occur during the play, those are the ones that we have to rely on. All that time that we spend in the off season and training camp working on individual fundamentals, technique, that's why you do those things, to put yourself in better position, so you don't have to have penalties. Because typically penalties during the play occur from, lack of execution on your technique. And so I think that's still an area that we've got to improve on. But I'd say overall the penalties have been an improvement.
Coach, earlier today you met with the media, and so that Saints fans who are listening understand you're not really going into the injury situation of the players who were banged up yesterday, and so that they wonder why we're not asking about some of the injured players. Your first injury report this week doesn't have to come out till Thursday, so just wanted to say that to get that out there. But I was curious about Kendre Miller. This is week 5. He is at least possible that he could come off IR. Doesn't mean he has to, but I just wanted to check on his progress. Yeah,
he's made significant progress. I think that's something that we're considering. We haven't made a final decision on that, and that probably won't come until tomorrow or the next day. But I think he's closer to being ready to get back into practice. And then once we decide to activate him, we really basically have a 3-week window that he can practice with the team before we have to, make a decision as to do we bring him off of IR? Do we leave him on IR? Is he ready to go? Is he ready to help us? And so I think that 3-week window for him is going to be an important time frame.